2025 is going to be the year that everything changes. This year will introduce us to an entirely new energy, an energy that we've never experienced before. This year, we will have the ability to see things from a whole new light. We can gain a whole new understanding on ourselves, on the world around us, on our position in the world. A new perspective, a new understanding, a new way to move forward, and a whole new direction to move in. This is the year of change. This is the beginning of a new era. And this is our first taste of what this new era is going to feel like, what it's going to be like, where it's going to lead us to. These are really exciting times that we are living through, okay? There's so many massive planetary shifts that are happening this year. So we're going to be experiencing something that we've never experienced before. So I hope that you like change, because it's coming, whether you like it or not. And it's here. It's actually here. And before we get into the astrology of it all, if you don't know me, my name is Bella. I am a tropical Western astrologer, and I use the whole sign house system to interpret the stars and the movement of the planets to help you on your spiritual journey. And if you like what I have to say, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my page, and hit that bell notification to stay updated every time I post. And if you love astrology, I also have an astrology app available in the App Store and on Google Play called Astro Bella. And you can get your personal birth chart on there, along with all of your astrological transits that you're going through personally and the transits that are going on in the world. And now you can get your 2025 personalized yearly horoscope so that you can know how all of these planetary shifts are going to affect you in your personal life. So make sure to check that out, and let's get into it, because I'm honestly very, very excited. So these are the planetary shifts that are taking place. I'm going to list them first, and then I'm going to go through each one individually and let you know what it means. So on January 11th, we have the lunar nodes shifting from the Aries and Libra axis into the Pisces and Virgo axis. The north node is going into Pisces, and the south node is going into Virgo. And these nodes are eclipse points. So our eclipses this year are shifting from the Aries and Libra eclipses to the Pisces and Virgo eclipses. The north node is a destiny point, and it is the type of energy that we're moving towards as a collective, and what we want more of, what we're trying to increase. Then we have the south node, which is what we're trying to let go of and move away from. So collectively, we're moving towards this Piscean energy of being more in touch with our own spiritual gifts, with spirituality in general, with the bigger picture of things, with our intuition, with our psychic abilities, with our spiritual gifts, with healing, compassion, kindness, and overall faith in something greater than ourselves. And we're moving away from the Virgoan energy of being very nitpicky, very critical, perfectionism. We don't need that anymore, right? No. Okay, it's about looking at the bigger picture. It's like, forget about the tiny little details. Like, yes, they are important too, and life is all about balance. But what we need right now, what we need in 2025 is to have faith and to trust ourselves and to trust our inner guidance, even if it doesn't make logical sense, okay? Because our intuition is going to be so needed to navigate all the changes that are coming. It's really all we have, because we're going to be bombarded with so many opinions and so many people's perspectives that we could easily drown in all of it. So we need to turn to ourselves and our own inner knowing and our own inner wisdom for truth in 2025. And how do we access that? By tapping into our intuition and our spiritual knowing and our spiritual guidance, by meditating, by healing ourselves, by grounding ourselves, by doing what we need to do to be aligned and high vibrational so that we can find the answers within, because it's going to be chaos on the outside. So we need to find peace within. We need to heal. We need to look at things from a spiritual perspective, and that's how we'll be able to navigate all these changes. So that's the first shift that's happening. The second major shift that's happening is Neptune is going into Aries. Now, Neptune takes 14 years to change signs. It stays in a sign for a very long period. It's a very slow moving planet. It takes about 165 years to rotate around the sun and around the zodiac. So about 14 years to change signs. So it's been in Pisces since 2011. Now, Neptune is the planet of mysticism, idealism, the glamorization of things. It's a very spiritual planet. It's connected to boundless energy, but it's also connected to deception and illusion. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag with Neptune. And what Neptune tends to do, I mean, it's a very slow moving planet, and it's only going to be in Aries from March 30th to October 22nd of this year, and then it will retrograde back into Pisces. But it's giving us a little taste. It's giving us a little sample of the next 14 years with Neptune in Aries. So what Neptune tends to do when it's in a sign, it tends to idealize that sign or glamorize that sign, make that sign seem like it's everything that we want to be and more. There's this sort of magic, this magical energy associated with the sign. And it's interesting how it's been in Pisces since 2011, because I definitely think we've glamorized and idealized the spiritual types and spiritual gurus, spiritual leaders, and we're definitely mesmerized by people that claimed to know spiritual truths, which is great and all, which is wonderful. But it may have taken us away a little bit from our own spiritual knowledge and realizing that we are our own gurus and all the answers are within us. And it could have taken that power away a little bit. But it's good. I mean, it's good that spirituality became so mainstream in the past 14 years, because it has helped a lot of people. It has helped people waken up to new truths, find new ways of living, new ways of healing. It probably led a lot of people to astrology, which is great. I mean, astrology has become very popular since Neptune has been in Pisces, because people are looking for spiritual answers and idealizing the spiritual way of living, which is great. It's really opened up a lot of doors. And it's opened up people's minds in new, beautiful ways. But life is all about balance, it's all about balance. We have to remember that. And Neptune is kind of like our fantasies and our dreams and what we idealize in our minds. So think about what Aries is about. Aries is the warrior sign, okay? Aries is ruled by Mars. Aries is feisty. Aries is independent. Aries stands up for themselves. They fight for what they want. They act upon their impulses and their instincts. They don't think before they act. They just go for it. They just go for what they want, and they're ready to fight. They're ready to battle, which I find very interesting, because that type of energy could start to be looked at a little bit differently with Neptune in Aries, and we could start idealizing people that are strong, that are warriors, that will fight for what they believe in, and we'll start really looking up to these people. There's going to be a lot of changes in the world, and I'm not, battles could break out between countries during this period. It's not going to be all rainbows and butterflies. In fact, the last time that Neptune went into Aries was the beginning of the Civil War, 165 years ago in 1861. Literally, as Neptune went into Aries, I think it was the next day that the Civil War started, which was definitely a time when war was idealized a little bit, because people really believed in what they were fighting for. They were very passionate about this war. They were standing up for their morals, for what they believe in. They were fighting for a cause that they believed was just. Both sides, and some of the soldiers were idealized or glamorized, for fighting for this country. I mean, the reality of war is that it was very bloody and horrendous and horrific, and war is always going to be that way. But the perspective of the people, it was quite interesting at that time. You know, you were looked at as a hero. And I think that heroes, whether it's in a war or heroes, are going to be looked at a little bit differently. You know, people that fight for their beliefs, people that stand up for their beliefs, people that are strong, people that, you know, they're instinctive and powerful. We're going to just, there's going to be a huge emphasis on these types of people, whether it's because of a war or not. I think there's people are going to feel like, and they're going to look up to these people, but they're going to become these people. We could start becoming a lot stronger and more, maybe a little aggressive, but the way that things are unfolding, the collective's mindset is going to be that we need to be aggressive right now, okay? Because the world is messed up, and we might have to be a little bit more aggressive than we have been. We might actually have to take a stand. We might actually have to fight. We might actually have to yell. We might even have to get violent. And I mean, I'm not for violence, but, you know, it's like the collective is shifting into this new energy of, like, you know, the warrior spirit, and fighting injustice. So heroic behavior and people standing up for what they believe in, whether they have to be aggressive about that or not. So that's very interesting. The other really big shift that's happening is Uranus, which is also a very slow moving planet. Uranus is going to be going into Gemini. Uranus takes about 7 years to change signs. So it's been in Taurus for the past 7 years. And Uranus is the planet of change, of innovation, of unpredictability, of a little chaos, revolution, rebellion, going against the status quo. So it's been really shaking things up in Taurus, which represents the financial markets and money and stability. And it's been a little, and for my Taurus people, you know, you've definitely been feeling it over the past 7 years. It's been a lot. You guys don't like change. Okay. It's going into Gemini. Gemini loves change. So Geminis, we're going to have fun. We're going to have fun with this Uranus transit. I mean, it could be a little hard on the nervous system, though. If you have planets in Gemini, take really good care of your nervous system, because it could be wreaking havoc there. But there's going to be massive changes in that sector of your personal chart and what Gemini represents in the world, which is short distance travel, communication, learning. There's going to be some innovative shifts in those areas. So how we learn, how we communicate, how we use our minds are going to shift. And, you know, we're going to be communicating very differently, whether it be through new crazy technological devices, whether we're communicating psychically, which I can also see becoming a thing, communicating psychically with our devices, because Uranus is also the future and innovation. So the way that we communicate through technology is going to completely shift, I believe. I don't know if we're going to psychically communicate with our devices. I feel like I've already been psychically communicating with my devices, and the UFOs out there, they're probably doing the same, which I'm going to get into in a second. I'm just jumping around. I'm a Gemini, so I'm allowed. I'm definitely going to be having some crazy downloads while Uranus is in Gemini. But yeah, so we're going to revolutionize the way that we communicate with one another, whether it's a new social media platform, a new way to express ourselves, a new way to take in information. This can also revolutionize short distance travel, hopefully for the better, for the best, because I don't know, like, I'm in LA half the time, I'm in New York the other half, and I don't like how we get around in LA. I wish that there was a more efficient way to travel short distances instead of sitting in traffic and feeling everybody else's frustration, picking up on that, because I'm also an empath. So, I mean, I would love it if this positively affected short distance travel, and then, you know, we had other ways to get around that didn't involve sitting in traffic. I would love it if everyone just rode around on a bicycle, but I don't know if that's exactly moving forward. That might be moving backwards. But yeah, hopefully we'll find a solution for that with travel, communication, learning, how we use our brains. So I think that could be a lot of fun. I think, and Gemini is a air sign, so it's definitely going to be expanding our mind. We're definitely going to be receiving a lot of information and downloads, and we're going to become smarter. There's going to be a lot of information to sift through, maybe a little too much. It could be a little overwhelming. We kind of have a preview of what that might feel like because Jupiter is currently in Gemini, and it's just we've been bombarded with news and opinions and thoughts and everything coming at us from all different directions. We don't even know what's true and what's not anymore. So this could be a continuation of that with Uranus in Gemini, where it's like we don't know what the truth is because there's just so much information. Thank goodness the North Node will be in Pisces, right? So we'll have more access to our inner guidance because our logical minds might be doing too much and take us farther away from the truth. So this is really nice. So Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018. It hasn't been in Gemini in 84 years, okay? Last time it was in Gemini, actually, was the beginning of World War II. Yeah, so that's another little weird coincidence of a war that happened in the United States. So, I mean, there's a lot of tension in this country. So, things can really start bubbling up and come to a head in 2025. Actually, Uranus was in Gemini for part of the time that the Civil War happened too, 84 years prior. And then 84 years prior to that was the Revolutionary War. So Uranus and Gemini kind of coincides with a lot of wars that happened in the United States, which is interesting. And, it's good to be aware of these cycles, and we'll see how that unfolds. I'm not trying to fearmonger or anything, but there's definitely a lot of tension in this country right now. And we'll see how it unfolds. And I feel like if something does unfold along those lines, I think the people might actually be behind this one just because of Neptune's shift into Aries as well. So we'll see. We'll see how it all unfolds. I don't think that people are being given the advantages that they need in this country to thrive. I think there's way too much struggling, and there's so many issues and problems that aren't being addressed. And if people start standing up for themselves, we can really make some change instead of just continuing to go about, because we can't really continue to go about things the way that they are. There's way too much corruption. Change needs to happen. So I think things really do need to come to a head. I think change is needed in the United States. So we'll see. We'll see how these planetary shifts unfold. Uranus is going to be in an air sign, which is Gemini, and then Pluto is also in an air sign. Pluto's in Aquarius now. And this is another major shift because 2025 is actually the first year that Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for the entire year. And because Pluto is newly in Aquarius and Uranus will be newly in Gemini, which is happening, by the way, not until July 7th. And it will stay in Gemini until November 7th. And then it will retrograde back into Taurus for a little bit. And then it will go back into Gemini for a full 7 years for its full stint there. Oh, and another thing I forgot to mention is that Uranus was actually in Gemini when the United States was born during the Revolutionary War. It was a little bit, I think it was at 8 degrees, so we won't exactly be having the Uranus return next year, but it's coming, and possibly in the following year. So there's going to be a lot of tumultuous energy in the world and in the United States, which is not surprising. Yeah, I don't think you need astrology to tell you that. But anyways, back to Pluto. So Pluto's in Aquarius. You've probably already felt the shift because it's been going in and out of Aquarius since 2023, but this is the first year that it's there, and it's there to stay until 2043, I believe. So Aquarius is co-ruled by Uranus, actually. It is the sign of innovation and future-oriented energy and quirky, eccentric, unconventional, different energy, co-ruled by Uranus. So it shares those traits. It's also traditionally ruled by Saturn. So it's, structured and organized and a little bit aloof and distant and cold. And it's an air sign. So it's very mental, very in the mind. We're going to be reaching new frontiers in our mind through technology. So Aquarius and Gemini are similar because, obviously they're both air signs, but they're very intellectual signs. We're going to be making strides intellectually and technologically. And we've already seen the rise of AI. We've already, had a little foreshadowing of where that's going to take us. There's going to be a lot of communication with AI as well, chatting with AI, using AI to help us figure things out, give us answers and solutions. That's going to be taken to a whole nother level in 2026. There's no reason to be afraid of technology. Technology can definitely take us in the wrong direction, into scary places that a lot of people are anticipating if it is in the wrong hands. But if it is in the right hands and if it is used properly, it can actually help us evolve and reach the next level of our understanding and evolution as humanity. Technology can be great. Technology is wonderful. It's just, it needs to be used for the right reasons, by the right people, with the right intentions. Okay. So technological advances are a given with or without astrology. It's nice to have an astrological perspective, but technological advancements are coming, whether we want them or not. The best thing that we could do is embrace the changes that are coming and figure out a way that we can use technology to benefit our own lives, and be aware when it might be having adverse effects on our lives. Like if we are becoming too dependent on it, or it is causing us to suffer in any way, shape, or form, because it can. If it takes us away from reality, or we're too dependent on it, or, it just disconnects us with ourselves and with others, then yeah, we should be concerned. But technology has the ability to make our lives easier, so much better. That's what it should be for. So there's going to be a lot of technological advances. The point that I'm getting to here, you guys, I'm going on a tangent, but Pluto is in Aquarius, Uranus is in Gemini. They're going to be making a trine, okay? That's very supportive energy. So these changes are actually propelling us in the right direction, into a beautiful direction, if you allow them to. They have the potential to make a lot of positive change. All these advancements, the AI can actually help us if we use it the right way. The way that we're going to be learning, communicating, moving forward, expressing ourselves. If our intentions are in the right place and we want to connect with one another more and to make our lives easier and to alleviate suffering, and we use all this technology to bring us together, because Aquarius is the sign of the humanitarian sign, the collective, the masses. We can actually use all these changes and innovation to see the world differently, to come together, to appreciate one another, to express ourselves to one another, to realize how we're more similar than we are different through how we're connecting on social media. And it could actually bring us together. And especially with this trine, I think that the changes will be beneficial overall. And it's a beautiful trine, and it's going to be an ongoing energy for a while. And then with Neptune being in Aries, that's a fire sign. Fire supports air, air supports fire. So Neptune will be sextiling these two planets. That's also a positive aspect. So there's nothing to be afraid of, you guys. Yes, the world is changing, but our souls, your soul, my soul, we chose to be here at this exact moment in time to have this exact experience, for our souls to evolve in a way that we never imagined possible from our physical 3D bodies. But our higher selves, our spirits, our souls know exactly what they're doing here. We are meant to be here right now, okay? These changes are going to help us evolve in a way we could have never dreamed of. But this is the way that our souls were intending on evolving, okay? That what we're taking on now, this energy that we're taking on now, these changes that we're taking on now are going to help us evolve in a way that's going to be actually beautiful and beneficial. And it's just, we can't even fathom it from where we are now. It's hard to grasp how transformational and beautiful all these changes will be. Saturn is also moving into Aries, so that's more fire. As you can see, there's a huge shift to the fire and the air signs. These are more masculine type of energies, okay? And not masculine in like a negative way, like masculine in the sense that it's like things will get done. Things are going to happen. We are going to move. Action will be taken. We're moving forward at rapid speed with all the fire and the air energy. It's so exciting. I'm beyond excited for it. I mean, me being a air sign, you know, air, Gemini, sun and moon with the Leo rising, I'm excited, obviously. It's because it's what we need. This is what's going to propel us forward, all this fire and air energy. Because we've just been in a lot of watery, earthy type of energy. And with Saturn also moving into Aries, it's more of that warrior energy. And Saturn takes about every 2.5 years to switch signs. It's been in Pisces as well, along with Neptune. And Saturn has a very different effect than Neptune. Actually, Saturn couldn't be any more different than Neptune. Saturn is all about structure, discipline, boundaries, limitations, and restrictions. Neptune is boundless energy. It's spiritual, magical, otherworldly. And then Saturn is very like physical, material, like structured, organized, hardworking, limited type, boundary energy. And we kind of needed both, I think, because it creates a nice, necessary balance. So both of these planets are moving into Aries this year. Just for a little bit. Both will retrograde back into Pisces as well. But what this will do is it'll shift the energy completely into Aries. So Saturn is going to be included in this sextile with Uranus and Pluto. But before we get too excited, Saturn doesn't really operate so wonderfully in Aries. Saturn is actually in fall in Aries because Aries is very impulsive and, they don't think before they act. And Saturn is a very methodical planet and it likes to take its time. It's all about patience and like the long-term effort of something and how that unfolds and how that pays off. And then Aries is just like, boom, let's do it. Let's go to war. Let's fall in love. Let's take action. Saturn is the opposite of that. So it struggles a little bit in Aries, but I think it's going to be okay because I think maybe we need a little Saturn wants to come in and kind of slow us all down because I'm telling you, we're going to get a little bit impulsive. We're going to get a little crazy in the coming years, which is good because that's what's going to initiate change. But at the same time, Saturn is coming in like, okay, hold your horses. Let's think a little bit before we do the thing. And Saturn will be in Aries from May 25th to September 1st. So it's not that long of a period because it's going to retrograde back into Pisces and then it'll go back into Aries in 2026 where it'll stay for 2.5 years. So it'll teach you some important lessons in that part of your chart as well. But the interesting thing about Saturn and Neptune both moving into Aries is that they're actually going to align. It's not going to be a perfect alignment until 2026, but they'll be within a degree of one another. And it takes about 37 years for these two planets to conjoin. The last time that they aligned was in 1989. And there was a lot of civil unrest in the world during that time. I don't know if you were alive. That was the year I was born. So I'm very familiar with this energy because it's in my natal chart. I have a Saturn-Neptune conjunction, which honestly, I've been trying to figure out for years. It's just the weirdest conjunction because, like I said, these two planets are so different. They literally represent opposite things. But, they're aligning at this time for a specific reason. And I think that they're there to create the balance that we need. Okay. With Saturn and Neptune becoming one, working as one energy, it's like we're able to take all these spiritual insights and spiritual truths and spiritual gifts and use them in the physical world and use them in an effective way. And figure out a way to structure these gifts so that we can actually use them to help other people. It's sometimes these spiritual gifts need to be limited in a way so that they could be used in the material plane. Okay, so this energy is going to help us as a collective bring our spiritual gifts that exist in the ether up here and bring them down to earth and do something with them. Structure them, come up with a plan. Like, I'm going to use the spiritual gift in this way and be very strategic with our spiritual gifts. Okay. But yeah, the last time, 1989 was a massive year. It was the Soviet Union crumbled, the Berlin Wall, revolution in Romania. Like, a lot of things dissolved during that time. Borders dissolved. Neptune was dissolving the borders of Saturn, and there is going to be more dissolving of things. It's interesting because, like, this energy could affect our personal lives one way, but then depending on where we are in our evolution, really, like depending on the work that we've been doing on ourselves, this energy is going to impact us. It's going to impact everyone differently depending on kind of where you're at in your journey. But if you've been kind of working on yourself and working with this energy, then you can definitely use it towards your advantage. If you've been working with energy overall, like if you've been attuned to the energy and learning how to use it towards your advantage, this is also something that can be very beneficial, I think, because it is helping us become more grounded and allow our spiritual gifts to exist in a different way where we can actually like turn our spiritual gifts into a business, so that we can share it with other people. We can take our artistic inspirations and turn them into something physical so that we can share them with others so that other people can get inspired. But in the world, there's a lot of energy that hasn't been dealt with. We have a lot of issues in this world. So the borders that can no longer stand, they're going to crumble. They're going to fall. Nations can fall. Ones that haven't been acting right, that have the wrong intention, and corruption in nations can cause those nations to crumble. The disillusionment of things will be, things will break down. Things may not uphold. Countries may not uphold. Laws may not uphold. Leaders. Aries is the sign of the leaders. Leaders may not be able to lead anymore. They may, dissolve their powers. So we'll see how that unfolds. So this conjunction isn't actually happening until 2026. But since they'll be very close in 2025, especially after Saturn goes into Aries as well, where Neptune will already be, we'll definitely get a taste of what is possibly going to be dissolved in 2026. Things are changing, things are shifting. So those 4 planets, fire and air, they're going to be positively impacting one another. We're moving in the right direction with all of this. It might feel a little chaotic, might feel crazy. We're like, what is this new technology? What is this new way of communicating? What is this new energy? What is all this? Speaking of energy, we're going to feel really pumped. Our minds are going to be blown constantly this year. But we need to remember that this is all happening for a reason. Things are unfolding exactly as they need to unfold. Okay, so there's nothing that we need to be afraid of. Our souls chose to be here to be spiritual warriors during this huge shift and during this big change in the world, okay? There's been a lot of UFO activity. Nobody really knows what's going on. If you're on TikTok, you may have been a part of drone talk. There's been a lot of drones in the sky. I think that that more is going to be uncovered about what this is, but weird things happening are going to become the norm. And not everything is going to have an explanation. The only explanation that you're going to be able to find is the one within your own heart, okay? But there is going to be a lot of weird things, and we're going to realize that technology is far more advanced than we thought that it was. The technology that we have access to now isn't the actual technology that the government actually knows about. We're far more advanced than we think we are. And then, if there's stuff out there that are far more advanced than we are as well. And we're going to be uncovering layer upon layer of what this is. And it's going to unfold. It could be shocking, but it's going to change our perspective on ourselves and the world around us. So there's a lot that's going to be disclosed in 2025 and 2026 in regards to UFOs, unidentified flying objects, these drones, secrets that our government knows, technology that we have access to that we didn't know we had access to or that we've uncovered. it could get weird. It could get weird. I don't want to put too much of that out there because, at the same time, we are creating our own realities, and, we're constantly changing timelines, and what we choose to believe, what we choose to focus on becomes our reality. And it could get a little weird out there. So you can get caught up in some like unwanted realities if you take in too much information too fast, because our brains cannot even fathom what is out there. So it's like we need to just take on this information slowly but surely. But there's a lot that's going to be uncovered, and that's going to be hard for us to kind of grasp at the beginning. But there's just so much more than what we thought. We're going to realize that this life and this world is not what we thought it was. We're going to realize that it's totally different. Everything is different than what we thought. And we're going to get a little bit of a glimpse of what that is, and a glimpse of the truth, and a glimpse of reality, a glimpse of what this actually is, which can be scary. But like I said, there's nothing to be afraid of. Anyways, I'm going on a tangent here, but expect a lot more to be uncovered about what is going on in our skies, and the level of technology that we actually have access to that we never really knew about, and the kind of technology that these UFOs have access to, or whatever they are. But it's complicated. That's why they're not telling us right now, because it's a little bit too complicated for us to understand and to fully grasp at this moment. So keep an open mind. Don't be afraid, and know that you are protected, okay? And trust yourself above anyone else, okay? Don't allow yourself to be deceived. Okay, so those are like the biggest, craziest shifts that are happening, and how like all these planets are going to be impacting one another in a positive way, which will be good, but it's going to be like a mind blown emoji. It's just going to be a lot. Jupiter is also switching signs, and Jupiter switches signs every year, so it's not going to be as a huge of a shift as all these other slower moving planets are, but it's definitely going to be new energy because Jupiter is moving into Cancer, and Jupiter hasn't been in Cancer in 12 years. So this is actually going to be really great, and is one of the greatest shifts happening this year, because Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. Jupiter does really well in Cancer. Jupiter loves to be in Cancer. It feels warm and fuzzy and loving and compassionate and nurturing and healing in this sign. Okay, this is going to be such a healing year for us all with Jupiter in Cancer, and this is happening on June 9th, and it's going to stay there for a year. So wherever you have Cancer in your chart, you'll experience good fortune and abundance. And then overall, it's just, I think that we're going to be more loving and more kind to one another in the second half of the year. Our intuition is also going to be a lot stronger. I love how we have the water energy still happening, because we need to stay connected to our emotions with all of this intellectualization and I can't even say these words, this just advancements in technology. They're going to take us really out of our body and really into our minds. We're going to be like in our heads a lot with this new energy. In our body, in a sense, where we're going to be like with the fire energy, we're going to be moving forward and taking action and thinking and understanding. But at the same time, too much of that can take us away from our feelings, away from our intuition. So I love that the North Node will be in Pisces and Jupiter will be in Cancer, because Cancer is just a very nurturing, emotional, intuitive, loving, and warm sign. That's why Jupiter does so well there, because Jupiter is all about abundance and healing and wisdom. And Cancer is like the wise mother that, always gives you good advice. And we're going to definitely be looking out for each other a lot more, and there for each other a lot more, and feeling a lot more. And we need to stay feeling. We need to stay connected to our emotions, because our emotions can really guide us and lead us to truth more than our minds can. So this balance is going to be very nice with Jupiter and Cancer. Jupiter thrives there. So, and it's interesting because Gemini is the sign of Jupiter's fall, where it's been, because Gemini is the sign of information, and Jupiter is the sign of expansion. And it's like there's already too much information going on. And with Jupiter and Gemini, sometimes it drowns in the information. So we're going to be shifting from the abundance of thinking to an abundance of feeling, to an abundance of being connected to our hearts. So I like Jupiter in Cancer. I'm excited. It's going to impact everyone differently, but for the collective it's going to put this feeling of warmth and care into our hearts for one another, which we really need right now. So those are the big planetary shifts. We're going to have a few retrogrades as well. Mars will be retrograde as soon as the year starts. It's retrograde right now. It started its retrograde on December 6th. Then it will be retrograde until February 24th. So the year is starting off slow. I know I said change, but it's going to take some time for the change to unfold because Mars is retrograding. It'll go back into Cancer on January 6th. Mars is in its fall in Cancer. Not like Jupiter. Mars doesn't like to be in Cancer. So it can make us a little emotional, like not in a good way, like crabby and moody and a little aggressive if we feel like someone is insulting us, or, you know, we could be kind of touchy about things and very defensive of our family and people we love, very protective. Mars doesn't like to be in retrograde anyway. Doesn't matter the sign, but it doesn't like to be in Cancer on top of it being in retrograde. So not the best way to start off the year. It's going to be a slow start. And you know, we just got to be kind to ourselves. But things always come full circle because Jupiter will be going into Cancer later in the year. So whatever we struggled with at the beginning of the year is going to be like healed in the second half of the year and made up for with Jupiter's presence. Jupiter's going to come in and heal all the frustrations that we felt like early in the year, which is great. And then we also have a Venus going retrograde this year as well. And that happens about every 18 months. It's not every year. So that's also something. It's like everything is happening this year. Everything that could possibly happen is happening now. It's all happening at once. So yeah, there's the Venus retrograde too, which isn't also not the best energy because it's probably better than Mars going retrograde. But Venus is all about money and love and relationships and our values. So when it's retrograde, we're kind of actually reflecting on those things. It's not the time to start new relationships. And this Venus retrograde is happening on March 1st until April 12th. So right when Mars goes direct, a week later, Venus will go retrograde. Come on, can we get a break here? I don't understand it. But it's okay because it'll help us reflect on our self-worth, our inner beauty, reflect on lessons that we've learned from past relationships, mistakes. And this is a 40-day transit. It's going to go direct again in April. We also have a Mercury retrograde happening simultaneously, and they're both happening in Aries. Again, big year for Aries. So this Venus retrograde is going to start in Aries, the sign of Venus's fall. Venus struggles in Aries because Aries is ruled by Mars, very different energy than Venus. So it's going to be kind of a rough start to this Venus retrograde. And then it will go back into Pisces on the 27th, I believe. I hope I'm right. I don't want to check. I have so many dates in my head. But on the 27th, they'll go back into Pisces, which is the sign of its exaltation. So it'll be a little bit easier to deal with this Venus retrograde towards the end. But the beginning might be a little jarring. Like, okay, Venus is in Aries. We're already struggling, and now it's retrograding in Aries. So it's definitely going to be a slow time for relationships. And you can see more issues pop up in relationships. Definitely not a time to be getting cosmetic procedures, okay? March 1st to April 12th. Don't get a facelift in March or in April, especially if you're in Aries or Pisces. Don't do anything. Just wait until after the Venus retrograde. Mercury's going retrograde as well on the 15th in the same two signs. So there's just so much energy in those two signs this year. There's retrograde, so we're really going to have to figure out these areas of our lives. And it's interesting because it's like Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. Aries is the first. So we're shifting from like our old reality to this new reality. And we're reflecting upon what we learned in those areas in our lives, depending on where you have like Aries and Pisces. And we're preparing for this new reality, but we're like going back to like review the lessons that we've learned, because even Neptune and Saturn, they're both going to be going into Aries this year, but then they're going back into Pisces, and then they're going back into Aries. So it's kind of this back and forth between the old life and the new life. What did I learn? What do I need to bring with me? What do I need to leave behind? And even the eclipses are happening in Pisces too. It's like everything is in Pisces and Aries. We have an eclipse in Aries as well. So it's like, what? Yeah, so that Venus retrograde is happening during a Mercury retrograde right after a Mars retrograde. What? Why? I'm not looking forward to it, but it's going to be okay because I'm going to go and reflect on my inner beauty. And speaking about the eclipses, guys, we're having 4 eclipses next year. We're having a Virgo eclipse on March 14th, which will be a lunar eclipse. So that's going to be a time to let go of whatever is holding you back in the Virgo part of your chart. Okay. Lunar eclipses are endings. It's with the South Node. So it's letting go, release. That'll be a big one. And then we have an even bigger one in Aries on the 29th. And this is the final Aries eclipse in the Aries and Libra axis. So this will be tying up a story that's been going on for the past year and a half. And it's a solar eclipse. So it's a new beginning. So it's taking all the lessons that you've learned with all the eclipses that occurred and applying them to your new life. And you're stepping into a new direction and a new version of you with all these lessons that you've learned. So the Aries eclipse, I'm excited for that one. The Virgo eclipse is happening at 23 degrees of Virgo. The Aries solar eclipse on March 29th is happening at 9 degrees. And then the very next day, Neptune will go into Aries, which I find so interesting because it's like Aries eclipse, Neptune in Aries. That energy, and Neptune will show us something about that energy. Something that we're stepping into a new version of ourselves with the Aries eclipse, this strong, empowered version. And Neptune will kind of like make it feel magical. Like the very next day, it'll feel so magical. Which could be a little bit of an illusion, but it's like this glamorized, idealized version of this new reality that we're going to have as soon as right after this eclipse. But also Neptune is going to be giving us the first taste of this new energy that we never have felt in our lifetimes before since 1861, since the Civil War. So that's happening. So yeah, that's happening the day after the eclipse. The spring is gonna be wild. I'm telling you, whole new energy. The final eclipse in Aries, then Neptune goes into Aries the next freaking day. Wow. And then Saturn will go into Aries, and then they'll be sextiling Pluto and Uranus. And I'm telling you guys, things are going to shift. Our perspective is going to shift. We're going to see things so differently. We're going to feel different. We might even feel very empowered and energized with all this Aryan energy, with all the fire and the air energy. Okay, we're going to start coming into our bodies, activating our bodies, entering our bodies, getting out of the la land and really embodying our bodies and doing something with them, making a change with our physical bodies. I'm really excited. I need that. I need that. Yes. So, and then there's 2 other eclipses. We're going to have a Pisces lunar eclipse on September 7th at 15 degrees. And then the final eclipse of the year will also be in Virgo, which is a solar eclipse on September 21st at 29 degrees. So we'll talk about those coming eclipses in later videos. But those are the biggest energies of the year. I hope I didn't miss anything, but I think I gave you a lot. I think I definitely gave you a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of shifts and changes. 2024 was like, things were kind of at a standstill, and I don't know, like with Jupiter being in Gemini, it was squaring Saturn. So I think we expected a lot of abundance in the Gemini part of our chart. Me speaking as a Gemini, but with the Jupiter squaring Saturn, there was a lot of blockages, a lot of limitations, a lot of old energy that we were just, completing. I would say there wasn't a lot of change in 2024, especially compared to 2025. It's going to be massive. Jupiter will also square Saturn one last time in the spring. So we will have a little bit of, blockages and limitations, but that's just the name of the game. Life ebbs and flows. We have our highs, we have our lows. We move forward, we move backward. It all balances out in the end, but we just need to learn to ride the wave and work with the energy and not fight against it, and to connect to it, to connect to the energy around us and kind of flow with the energy, not resist it, not run from it, understand it, embrace it, go with it, realize that this energy is unfolding for a reason and we can use it towards our advantage if we understand it. And this is not a year to be afraid of change and to be afraid of a whole new life, a whole new direction, a whole new reality, a whole new understanding. This is the year to embrace that change and to trust that it's for our ultimate good, even if it feels freaking scary. I'm telling you, your soul chose to be here for a reason at this exact time in history. 2025 is the beginning of a whole new era. Whole new life, a whole new energy. This is exciting. It's monumental. This is the year that we've been waiting for. And I'm so excited to be on this journey with you guys. And thank you so much for being here, for listening to this video. Please feel free to leave any questions or comments down below. Let me know if this energy resonated with you. I love hearing from you guys, and thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for watching, and I'm wishing everybody a happy, healthy, and safe new year, and I will see you guys very soon.